All right. Welcome everybody to our feature drop webinar. My name is Andy Simmons. I'm the Vault Education Specialist here at IVS. Today I'm going to be joined by four of my colleagues from the company who work closely with Vault users every day to make sure they get the most out of their investment with IVS. Each one of my colleagues, they'll all share some insight into a lesser known or what they kind of consider maybe an underutilized feature of Vault that they've found to actually help one of their customers. But first, before we actually introduce my colleagues and start to go through those things, we'll go through a couple of housekeeping items. The first thing, and this actually isn't on my agenda today, but something to note, like all of our webinars, anybody who's viewing this live, you are muted. However, please use the chat section of the webinar, and any of the panelists or myself, any five of us who isn't actively presenting, will be happy to chime in. And as always, if there are a multitude of questions or anything we can't get to during the webinar, we will absolutely give you a call afterwards. Next, the version of Vault that we'll be using to demonstrate today is version 6.4, the latest version. So if you notice that yours looks different than ours, then I suggest two things. I'll touch on this again at the end of the webinar, just as a reminder. But first, you can absolutely take a look at our 6.3 and 6.4 new feature webinars that we put on the last couple of months, just to get a feel for what's changed. And then second, you can reach out to either your regional rep, if you know who your regional rep is, or just call our general number and we'll put you in contact with that person. And then we'll set up a time for just a brief readiness meeting so you know that what an update would actually entail on your side. And then we'll schedule a time to get you onto the latest and greatest. All right, next, let's take a look at, I'll go ahead and share my screen. We'll take a look at the wiki. I'll show you where I'm going to store this once we're all done. All right. Well, there's my beginning slide, which we don't really need anymore. Talks about the version and the update. The wiki is accessible within Vault, and it's where we store all of our webinars as well as things like release notes and so forth. So if you navigate to your version of Vault and you click login and you go down to your profile in the lower left, you can find the help section right here. And then in the upper right, we have the IVS Wiki /FAQ. Some of you probably registered for the webinar through here where you see the invite for today's webinar. But down below, you'll find the video content, including all the webinars we put on over the last year. Last month was the one that showcased everything in 6.4, some of our bigger new features. A couple months ago, the New Year New Features webinar, which you can watch here, that showcased 6.3. So feel free to go back and take a look at those if you aren't on the latest version. And then you can also, if you'd like, read our release notes of the latest version and any other version that we've released. As well as a few other things I'd like to point out, the Vault permissions. If you see something in our version that you're not seeing on yours, it's probably just because it's not activated. So you can always take a look at all of our short videos, 2-minute videos at the most, about each permission involved, how you activate it, and what it looks like, whether it's activated or not. So if you want to get something going that you do have access to, a good way to start is just to take a look at what it would entail to activate that itself. All right. So I think I covered everything there. Next, we're going to get to our demo, but first, I'll go ahead and introduce my colleagues. So we have from our marketing team, we'll be joined by Carrie. From development, we have Eli.
Hi, all.
From our support department, we have John.
Hey, everyone.
Recognize him if you watch any of our Fix It Fast videos. And then from our sales department, we have Jeanette Lee here.
Hello.
All right. We'll start actually today with marketing, and Carrie will show us some insights into some of the customers that she works with. So Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and share your screen, and then I'll do my best to scoot all of our faces to the side. And a couple times, if she's shown something and our faces are in the way, I'll make us disappear so everybody can see. So Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and add your screen to the stage here.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie Rhodes, and today I'm going to be reviewing the sharing link. The sharing link allows you to share a recording or a room for live observation with a user that may or may not have a Vault account. When that user clicks that shared link, They will only be able to see that room or recording that is shared with them. This tool makes it really easy to share, to securely share, while also controlling the access to Vault on your network. So here I am, I'm in a recording that I would like to share. I'm going to navigate up here to this link icon. That's the sharing link. I'll select that. You'll see here that it'll open a window with the share settings. It'll first ask you to select how long you want that link to be valid for. It'll default to no expiration. You can also manage that then on the back end. The end date would be a date that you want it valid until then, and then end after period would be a way for you to specify the duration. You also have the option to share the comments that are in the recording, as you see here, as well as allow that user, that guest, to create markers. I'll leave those off. I'll go ahead and I'll hit New Share Link. That'll create this link that I can then copy. I'll drop that into a new window so you can see what that looks like. So you can see here that the user has access to the recording. They are not able to see those comments, nor do they have the ability to create any new markers. I'll navigate back to the Vault, and now I'll show you how you can share a room for live observation. We have a healthcare customer that uses this feature a lot. They'll provide parents with a device as well as a sharing link to the room in which their child is in so they can observe the care that's being provided. They can only then see that room in which their child is in. So here I select the room in which I want to share. Again, I navigate up to that link icon, which is the sharing link. Those share settings will pop up. Again, I'll just default to the no expiration. I'll create that share link. I'll copy that link. And again, I'll drop that into a new window so you can see what that looks like. So now you can see that only that one room is visible to that user. So there you have it. Now you have learned how to share a room and recording to another user. Thanks, Andy.
Great, Carrie. All right. From there, we're going to remove Carrie's screen and we'll move on over to Miss Jeanette Lee to share some features that have helped some of her customers.
Awesome, thank you. So one of my favorite things about Vault is its unique ability to be able to support audio video capture in a number of use cases. And this has helped our customers who are looking to do audio video capture in multiple different programs. So nursing, counseling, sales training, and a great example of a feature that helps contribute to that flexibility is our templates and the ability to use field types and field names that are unique to each program and department. So for example, if you are in a medical education program and, for example, creating a series of cases that students are going to go through, you can easily create a series of fields specific to the information that you want to capture to present to the student or to standardized patients or to instructors. If it's a sales training session, it might be information about the client that the sales student is about to engage with. So really flexible. And all of the data is searchable and reportable in Vault. And so the benefit of using terminology that is specific to your program needs is that it's going to make the program truly intuitive to use because it's using the words that you use every day. So just as an example of a couple of the customizable fields that you could incorporate, one is a static text field. This is a great way for just presenting general information. So it's really instructions, questions, and you could also add image fields. So if there's an image that you want a student to have access to, for example, we can incorporate that here. You could also incorporate things like audio notes. You could import files. You can also do drop-down dictionaries, free text fields, note fields, so really customizable. And once you've created a custom template, you can associate it with the user group that you want to have access to that template. Save, and then that template is immediately available for the users that you've given access to that template. So they'll be able to select it and the content that you've added appears for them, so it's readily available. So just as a basic example of the way that you can customize Vault to meet the unique needs of any user group using your system so that they can easily organize videos, find those videos, and report on that information and use it as a way to convey information to people who are engaging with the Vault system. And that has really helped all of our customers who are interested in meeting those individual needs. So for example, we have children's hospitals who deploy Vault in multiple departments. I'll drop a video into the chat from Southeast Community College about their experience deploying Vault in multiple programs. So there's some more information if that meets perhaps a similar use case to yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. Yeah, thanks for adding that video too. That's definitely one of the underutilized features of Vault. Great. I think next we're going to be moving to Eli over in our development, which shows how to customize a little bit within the review here. So Eli, I'm going to add your screen.
Sounds great. So now that Jeanette has shown you how you can get those custom information templates into Vault, I want to show you something a little bit deeper that kind of shows how that information can be used. So in order to do that, I'm just going to very quickly make a recording here. This isn't the important part of what I'm showing off, but I'm just going to head over to our Observe section into one of our rooms here and get a recording started. You can see here that I have a much more elaborate information template set up for this that requests all sorts of different information. So for example, maybe we're going to be doing a pediatric simulation scenario, right? We'll say our student, cleverly named John Doe, is being instructed by, even more cleverly, Jane Doe, doing a mannequin-based simulation. And we said it's pediatric. We're also going to say that there's multiple situations that apply here. We'll call this a pediatric cardiac scenario. We might even want to enter a note in before the scenario, something like patient is presenting with elevated blood pressure, something that we might need to do something about immediately, or at least that's relevant to the assessment. Then we even have a multi-select field here that allows us to choose some inventory that's involved in the scenario. So in this case, I think the first thing we're going to be doing is an IV. So maybe we'll need an IV starter kit, but since it's pediatric, placement can be challenging. We'll need an ultrasound to place that IV. So we'll go ahead and grab those two things. We'll choose the simulator we're using, the SimBaby. We'll go ahead and start our recording here. I'm not going to leave this running for too long. Recording is one of the core functions of Vault, of course. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this already, but we've got about 10 seconds of video here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop that recording for us. And we are going to head over to our review section to take a look at it. So you can see I have a whole bunch of recordings here. We have the pediatric simulation recording I just made. It's great and all that we have the title, we know what room it was, we even know who recorded it. But then we have all this other information, but for some reason, all that info we just added isn't visible here. So you might be thinking, great, I can add all of this new information to tag the video with, but there's no way to see it. So what good is it, right? If I can't sort through the videos, it's not very useful. So this is kind of one of those more magic features of Vault, right? It kind of eliminates the need to sort your videos in other ways because you can just tag the videos with relevant information. So even though it's not visible here, if I search for, let's remember our student, right, John Doe, you'll see that the search is aware that this simulation recording includes John Doe or Jane Doe, right? It may even be noted that we include the ultrasound in the inventory. So it can search it, it's just not showing it to us. So one of those really little missing pieces is how do we actually change what's visible up here? A lot of people don't know it's even possible. So I'm going to head over to our admin section here, over to our users and groups. I'm going to find the user group that I want to make this adjustment for, which in this case is our webinar admin. And I'm going to roll on down all the way to the bottom. And, I don't really see anything here at all about changing review columns. I see permissions, rights, all that good stuff. It's actually a setting we've buried under our advanced settings down here. There's a lot of good stuff hidden in here. It's just stuff that not everyone uses. You can see down here under other in the advanced settings, we have search results display. And in fact, there's a bunch of things already selected. Every system is going to show you the title of the recording, which is the first field in the info template. And then there's all this other optional stuff, right? You see we have the date and time, the duration, the room, the comments, the author, a multi-select container and sync. Maybe you don't need some of these things, So I'm going to make our interface a little less cluttered. I'm going to drop container and sync from this list. Maybe I'm even going to drop the author because, perhaps we have a facilitator who makes all the recordings, so that name is just always the same. It's not very useful to us. So we'll drop a couple of those to create some space. And then we can look under our search results display list and we'll see, past that, we have a whole bunch more fields. These are all the fields from the template that I have assigned to this user group. So why don't we put a couple of these useful ones in here? Maybe it's more useful to us to know the student name who was involved in the recording. Or maybe we need to know information about the simulation type, or maybe we need to know what inventory was used at a glance, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those 3 things, make that change. Don't forget to go down to the bottom right and save your adjustment afterwards. Otherwise, you'll have to do it all over again. And now that we've got that in, I'm just going to log out and back into the Vault software so we can see our changes. I apologize, just logged in as the wrong user. And we are back. Voila, if we go look at the review tab, our columns have changed. We now see that recording I just made, pediatric simulation, but it's also showing us the student name that was involved. It's showing us the inventory we chose. It's showing us the simulation type. And this is infinitely customizable, right? But to me, it's showing me way more valuable information at a glance right now. So this is one of those really, really great ways that you can customize the Vault software. That's all for me. So I'll hand things back off to you, Andy.
Thanks, Eli. That's a powerful one. Yeah, that's one that I'm sure most people, probably a lot of us internally too, actually don't even realize you can do is customize that screen. And not just customize it, but like create fields to customize it. That's great. All right, Mr. John from support, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey everyone. So we've seen from Carrie and we've seen from Jeanette and Eli some great features that you can utilize and change within the groups for how your system's being utilized. One of the first things that I want to actually show you is, Eli was making changes to his administrative account. So as he was making those changes, he was able to see those changes immediately because he was using that account. But if you're making changes as an administrator for all of these different groups, like your faculty or your student groups, as you're making those changes, removing things like the ability to download or delete, you want to actually verify that those changes are going through and being made. And sometimes you might ask that faculty member or student to log in and make sure those changes have gone through. But what I find very helpful is actually creating a dummy account that you can place into those groups. And then that empowers you to actually then log in as that dummy account and verify the changes you've made actually go through and what they look like. So right now I'm just logged in as well, like the account that Eli had, that webinar admin. So if I go as well into settings and users and groups, we'll notice that we have this webinar admin group. That's where my current user is. But we also have this webinar users. So if I'm making changes to the group, I want to see what those are. If I go ahead and go to edit this group, we can see, I can change that video access, but more importantly, the permissions or the rights. So we see that this group has access to the home page. We see they have access to recording and PTZ. And they have access to review. And I did ensure that they don't have access to download or delete, but like I said, you really want to verify that these changes are actually going through. So what I can do is I'm going to go back to users and groups, and I'm going to create a new account for myself. In the top right, I have this little add button. I'm going to select add user. I'm going to give myself a account here. We'll just call it webinar testing. And then I'm going to put password in there. And now, most importantly, the group that I'm assigning it to, this is the group that I want to validate the changes that I'm going through. And we'll apply that to webinar users because that's who I want to validate. I'll then go ahead and hit save. And now I'm actually going to log out of my administrative account. And now I'm going to use that webinar testing user to log in. And then when I go through here, notice I'm not the administrator anymore. I can see that I have reduced columns on the left. So I know that I don't have access to settings. I don't have access to reports or scheduling. And then if I go to review here, doesn't look like I have video access. And I can see the rooms that I have access to as well. And I don't have access to lock recordings or do anything else there. And like Jeanette and Eli were pointing out, we have all of these different filters that we can apply with our information templates. This is also a good area for me to confirm that the template that I just created is actually assigned to this group. And notice that we have our very basic default one right in here. So I'm actually learning a lot of information just being signed in, and maybe my expectations don't match what I actually thought that I was setting in here. So that would allow me to then come back here. And then if I wanted to, I can come back in and make the appropriate changes. So if I go then to webinar users, we have a bunch of those great information templates. If I actually want one of those to be assigned, I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And then once I've saved that, I will just log in once more with that testing account. And then if I go to start a recording, perfect. Now I can actually see that my template is shown there. So I haven't had to take the time to go ask someone else to log in. I've been able to just immediately verify that the settings that I'm creating are here, just ensuring that everything's configured the way that I actually want it for my end users. And the great thing is, if I wanted to, I could actually assign that user to a different group as well. I could keep that same account, but just change what group that user is actually in. So if I look for that webinar testing account, I could go into here, and then just under group, I could assign it to an entirely different group, sign back in, and then verify the permissions for that group. So I don't necessarily need multiple accounts for different groups. I can have just this one dedicated account for that. So I think that that's very powerful for that reason. One of the other things that I really like from an administrative perspective is actually, when we go to general and we look at our server, how much storage we have in there, storage is very precious. Once you've run out of space, you've definitely learned to value how much space you have on your server itself. One of the things that we can often see is people might accidentally start a recording on a Friday and then just let it run that whole weekend. And then when you come back, you have hours upon hours of actual recordings just taking up this valuable space. One thing that we can actually do inside of Vault is per group, we can limit or set a max record duration for each group to say after a certain amount of time has passed, the recording will just automatically cut off. So if we actually then go back into users and groups in here, I'm just going to go all the way down to that webinar users. Now this is going to be a little bit buried, so this is why we are highlighting this today. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and then you'll notice we have in the bottom corner advanced settings. If I go ahead and click on that, you'll notice we have record duration. Now, right now it's turned off. We never want to impact your recordings and that it just prematurely stops and then cuts off important content. So by default, this is going to be turned off. That does mean, however, that that scenario where I said Friday to Monday recordings potentially could happen. We always like to recommend turning this on for the different groups, and then specifying, potentially in hours, what that max record duration should be. My personal recommendation is that you should find the longest duration you reasonably might find yourself recording, and then add 1 to 2, 3 hours even on top of that, because we never want to impact the important content that's being recorded, but we do want to ensure that the recording's being stopped. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know my sessions only go 2 hours. I'm just going to set it to 4 hours and then hit save. It's more of a seatbelt. We don't want the recordings to stop that way. You should still have good practices of ending recordings on time. But if something should happen, it will then stop at that 4 hours. And then that precious space that I was talking about is good for all of that real content that you want to be capturing. And those are the 2 features that I want to share today.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Yeah, I love that duration timer. That's a fantastic one. And we are right about on time here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. And we will just go from this current slide. Just as a reminder, next steps, if you saw something in here that you don't currently have access to, and you're not on version 6.4, if it's a version thing, by all means, give us a call, give your regional rep a call, or give our general number a call, and we'll set up a time for a readiness meeting to walk you through what the next version would entail, and then set up a time to update you. If you do have this latest version and you just don't know how to use something, you can call us as well. Call our support number or go to our wiki through the help section of Vault. But if you call us, we'll always walk you through anything that you need. So we want you to be able to get the most out of your Vault system. So by all means, if there's something that you saw today, give us a call, reach out to us somehow, and we will help get that set up. Okay, that's it for our webinar today. Thank you so much to our panelists, and thank you everybody for joining us. All right, have a great day. Bye.